And I think the final thing that we should kind of bring up are just general house rules. Like there are things that are going to be unique to that group, right?
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to customize that game to what the players want. This is a big deal in the Dungeon Master's Guide. This is a big deal in Tasha's. Don't forget that, like, hey, they're going to like the certain type of combat. They're going to like certain types of technology to be in there. Maybe a character wants to carry a old-timey pistol. I literally, my character has like carried a pistol and never shot it because I just find it funny that one of them has a pistol. You know, like they're like, if they want to do something a little bit unique, give it thought as a dungeon master. Like, does it really break your game for this to exist? You know,
the rules are meant to inform this, to facilitate the story, not the other way around. Yep.
And we've kind of talked about house rules in the terms of like having these kind of like hard limit, soft limit, but house rules may include something like don't check your cell phone at the table while we're playing, you know, don't, you know, bake a fish during the game. You know, who knows? Like, you know.
Yeah, and everyone has their own opinions on these, so you might as well get everyone's expectations straight right out of the gates.
Yeah. And I don't have a ton of house rules actually that I can recall, and that can vary from group to group. But yeah, like cell phones at the table, unless you're looking at dndbeyond.com, is kind of a big one because I hate when players are checked out.
Yeah.
Like if they're looking down, they may be listening, but they look checked out.
Yeah. Hey, we've got about 10 minutes left on the clock. Do we want to tackle some questions from our audience?
Yeah, we have a lot of questions.
We have questions. Hello, audience.
I'm going to go dive in real quick. What should you include in a session 0 for someone who has never played the game before and doesn't know what to expect? Give them time to learn. Do not get frustrated with them. Like most of your players should already know that. Be patient. I don't know that I would like. That's, you know, I think the best way to say is talk around the table and be like, "Hey, I'm a new player. I think everyone should clue into the fact that maybe give them some time. They're learning."
You know, session 0 doesn't have to be a full session all the time, but if one or more people are new to the game, it might be good to have it be kind of a full 2-hour, 3-hour sessions length, and maybe have them build their characters there with someone who knows what they're doing. You know?
Yeah. Totally. I mean,
it
takes a village to raise a player.
Yeah, and it really only takes 1 or 2 villagers to ruin one forever. So be cool, especially when people are new, because there was a time you were new. But if somebody's like completely new, I would work with them even more separately than that. Just run them through a very short scenario of like how they got there that day. You know, like they traveled there through the woods. You know, encountered an injured wolf in a trap, and you know, just let them roll some things and get an idea of that's how it works. I mean, even 5, 10, 15 minutes will make all the difference in the world. And if you don't know how to run a one-on-one session, there are things in Tasha's. Also, I've done one-on-one sessions with both of these beautiful people. You can Google one-on-one shots. They're all on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was one of my favorite. It wasn't really a one-on-one shot. It was so much fun. One-on-one shot with my wife and I, and that was so fun.
It's true.
Because we got to be our most awful selves, and kind of fill in a narrative hole as well.
I was like, let's give Avery some backstory. Yeah.
Like he
Sorry,
didn't have
more
enough.
questions. I didn't mean to
Session
ramble.
0 is a good way to get your players away from being musical murder hobos. Why would you want to do that? I would love to see musical murder hobos. No, yeah, sure. That's a.
I mean, or get them to be musical murder hobos, right? If that's what your campaign is geared towards, or if that's what everyone wants to play, right? If everyone wants to play that way, who are you to say no? We are playing my intrigue campaign.
Remember this group effort. This is a group effort.
Yeah. Well, because it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Like Jason Carl always says, he's like, my only job is to represent the world of darkness and what it demands. You know, he's like, you guys do what you do. It's going to do what it does.
And you've got choices as a dungeon master when you get to that scenario, right? Because, you know, your fun is worthy too. It's just like you're setting yourself up for failure if you go that hard against the grain. Maybe you decided this group of people, maybe you should just have a board game night with them every week. And find another group to play D&D with. Like, I mean, that's valid. That's valid if you want to do your high.
If you feel as a dungeon master you're not being taken seriously, maybe you shouldn't be the dungeon master of that group.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, true. That's
just
probably
don't be a dick about
a
it,
good sign.
Or start killing some players. I mean, characters, player characters.
I mean, what?
So, we got another question. If one player is forced to miss the session 0 and joins later, what is your recommended way to catch up? Yeah, that's kind of difficult. Just kind of give them an abbreviated recap. I think that's very wise. But have a session 0 with at least them to thoroughly explain what everyone had brought up.
Yeah, it depends on when you mean by late, right? Because if they're like an hour late and they miss a session 0, then it's like, okay, recap them. And ask if there's anything crucial that they need to say. But if it's like 3, 4, 5 weeks late, then just do another session 0. Just get them in from the ground floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're a little short on time, so we're going to try to blaze through these. What is this? Sorry, I got a little thing in the way. Would a session 0 be a time for a dungeon master to address concerns and issues he may be having with the gameplay? Like, what if the dungeon master isn't getting anything out of the game? I've actually not ever run into this personally. Maybe you don't want to be a dungeon master. That sounds very harsh, but maybe this isn't the group that you want a dungeon master for, and that's something you should definitely consider as well.
Man, it's really hard to discuss ending a campaign. I don't have good advice for it, not right now.
Or pass the ball.
Yeah,
I ran a very long campaign where I literally okay, I'm burnt out on storytelling right now or dungeon mastering. How about you run a game for a few? And we kind of had a cinematic universe, and this is when I was 18, and this was very fun. Again, gave me a chance to play, and it almost inevitably always ended up the moment I got tired of playing, it was my turn to dungeon master, and so that helped prevent burnout of any kind. So, you have something to say, Dave?
It's also I completely agree with you that it's if they're doing it completely in a way that is irritating or frustrating, that might not be the group for you. But there are times you can set certain expectations, in some of the vampire games. There's been times I've had to tell some players very directly, I'm like, this isn't the That's What She Said game. That's not this game. I'm like, we may be those people and tell those kind of jokes, but not when we're doing this. So you can try and maintain a certain tone as long as that's the tone that the players have shown up and want to engage with.
We do have a question on how much of session 0 should actually be about social rules rather than where are we going. We talked a lot about social rules because I feel like these are the most sensitive topics. The theory is if someone's like, hey, if B-Dave's like, hey, do you want to play in some Eldritch Horror creepy stuff? I'm like, okay, well, I know that's what we're dealing with. That's a conversation you have with your players. Do you want to be a whole bunch of rogues and thieves? I play very chaotic evil characters. I tend to like that the best when it's just me doing it, but maybe you all want to be evil. That's a nice change of pace, but this is a conversation you would have at that session 0. And I feel like this resolves itself very quickly, right? With your group of friends. If you're do you like steampunk? Do you want to do Eldritch Horror? Do you just want pure high fantasy, low fantasy, post-apocalypse? These are very easy questions to answer because we have so many examples in media of what that is.
And again, we're balancing it out here. Maybe the players don't know, then you can tell them, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you guys are going to be pirates up and down the Sword Coast, and then adjust from there. And quite frankly, there's been plenty of games that maybe set out with them being pirates of the Sword Coast, and in the second session, the ship runs aground and they go to a town and then don't leave it. I mean, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Session 0 is a big tent,
and don't be afraid to adjust. Halfway through the game or a few sessions in, because you will find this, especially new players or seasoned veterans. You will be like, I don't like this character. I don't like who they've become, because they are kind of a living, breathing thing. And they may not want to play that character just in the same way that they're like, okay, we thought we really want to do the pirate thing, but now we really just don't. That's okay to change it up or to move into an entirely different setting. It's still very possible. It's a big multiverse. Oh, I'm frozen.
I can see in here, Todd.
You may have lost me.
We lost to James. Yeah, no, I see Todd.
Oh, we lost James, but I can hear James.
We're under attack.
Yeah,
that's how it happens.
That is how it begins.
Well, 1 minute left. We got another one, or are you gonna sign us off?
Yeah. So real quick, what do you do if you don't know there are issues in your group? Well. Check in with your players often. I have definitely been blindsided several times because I'm so focused on being a dungeon master, and you are kind of the CPU of this game. You're overheating with all of the things you're keeping track in your brain. It can be very easy not to know that there is like something wrong in the game. Check in with your players and make sure that they feel safe checking in with you and talking to you about stuff. That's how you solve that. Otherwise, divination.
Yeah, everybody's there to have fun, man. You can always come back to that. It's everybody's there to have fun, and as long as you're operating from the place of trying to facilitate both your enjoyment and the mutual enjoyment of everybody else at the table, you can sort it out.
Yeah, that was our big giant conversation about session 0 for Dungeons and Dragons. You can find that in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Thank you so much, B Dave. Where can you be found, and what you got going on?
Back here in like 3 hours on Silver and Steel and on all sorts of other stuff. Just follow me on Twitter at @BDaveWalters. It's too much to list, but I will say Thursdays at 5 o'clock, we're in the 3rd and final season of Dungeons and Dragons: A Dark and Wish. The first 2.5 seasons are up on YouTube already. Check that out. And again, I dropped the links to the one-on-one shots in chat. Actually, Lauren did. Thanks, Lauren, because I was cruelly oppressed by Mubat. That was a fun time with these beautiful people and some other people that you probably know.
James,
am I back, everyone?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I cut in and out a couple of seconds there. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. We got you.
Perfect.
Yeah, James Haeck, what you got going on other than being employed by me right now as a lead writer at D&D Beyond?
Oh my gosh, yes, you can see my articles twice a week on dndbeyond.com. I do things like Class 101, which explains currently the new subclasses coming out of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, as well as a couple of just sort of general interest articles. We're going to see an article on Session 0 to follow up this one later on this week. And I think that will really distill a lot of the things we talked about today into a fine nugget of information you can digest in 2,000 words or less.
Right. Be ready for that fine nugget
these days.
Fine Nugget was one of my street names back in college.
That's my gamer tag.
I got to rush to take it before you get it.
Man, I'm so happy we had you on the show. I love talking with you. It never happens.
Yeah, man. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for watching Todd Talks. We are very excited about 2021 and everything that it holds for everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to be kind to each other. Goodbye.